How much copy is too much? How much copy is not enough? If you've ever worked on a web page, you've either sweated over these questions or argued about them with someone, and I want to show you a simple principle in this video that I use to figure out when copy is either getting too wordy or when that extra sentence or two is actually super necessary. So I started thinking about this when I was in the middle of canceling a subscription the other day to a website called going.com, which used to be called Scott's Cheap Flights. Basically, they send you alerts for cheap airfare. It was one of those subscriptions that I knew was useful, but I just didn't really have time to look at the emails and all the content available to me. The renewal was coming up, and I figured I should cancel it since I wasn't engaging with it very much. So I go to cancel, and I end up in a cancellation flow that starts like this. So you can see up here, it's trying to remind me of the benefits that I'm going to lose by canceling, but what's really happening is this is basically just a list of features. And here's the problem with that. In the moment when I was going through this, I really didn't have that much of an idea what most of these actually do. Weekend getaways, up to 10 departure airports, mistake fares. It wasn't super obvious right away to me what these are or how they help me. I will say that this line down here that says premium members save an average of $500 per ticket was kind of a nice FOMO reminder, but ultimately there was nothing compelling enough here for me to click the button on the left. So I continued with canceling. That of course brought me here to this survey, and fair enough, I work in marketing. I get why they want the feedback, so I select an option and keep it moving. That's when they offered me a 50% discount, which ultimately was convincing enough for me not to cancel. So I accepted the renewal at half price. By the way, the reason I have all these screenshots is basically because I'm a weirdo. I took them all in real time as I went through the process to just kind of stash away because I was curious to see if they might change the flow in the future. And when I went back to check a few months later, guess what? They had. Check out the first screen in the flow now. There's a number of things that changed, as you can see, but the biggest thing to me is the additional short description paired with each feature. These not only make it easier for me to understand what the feature is, but they also imply more of a benefit. We don't just see mistake fares anymore, we see mistake fare deals, our rarest and most sought after deals when airlines make pricing mistakes. And I still think they could be a little more explicit with the benefits of some of these features, but it's at least clear what they actually are now. So let's pause for a second, zoom out, and look at the old version and the new version side by side, because I want to ask you a question. Which one do you think looks simpler? Because that's what anyone creating a web page in 2024 is after, right? How can we make this as simple as possible? Go out there, do user testing. You'll see prospects don't want to wade through a ton of information, and there's always a push to cut down and get as little as possible, simple as possible, that people can understand quickly. So when you look at these, which one is simpler? I think most people would say the original one, that personally I found to be confusing when I was going through the process. And this is where a very important copywriting principle comes into play that I think can help you when you're trying to decide if something is too long or too short, okay? So here it is. Simple is clear, but clear isn't always shorter. So the last thing you want is for visitors to be confused or indifferent when you're trying to guide them to a specific action. Sometimes fewer words is the way to accomplish that, but sometimes it's not. So the next time you're looking at a chunk of copy, don't just stop at asking if it's too long or too short. Instead, try questions like these. Is this clear? Is this essential? Is this boring? Is this confusing? Not only are these easier questions to answer, they actually move you toward more specific actions you can take to improve the copy. Now, do I have proof that this longer version was more effective? No, I don't. I'm only speaking to my subjective experience going through this flow as a customer. However, I've been part of plenty of split tests over the years where more information on the page outperformed less. There's probably a reason this version is still up and running months later. With all that said, is this just an excuse to be long-winded? No, absolutely not. If there is a shorter way to communicate something and you're confident it will resonate, that's typically the way to go. And by the way, if something isn't clear on your page, more words isn't always the best way to make it clear. Sometimes that can come in the form of a design change. That's why I think it's so important for copywriters and designers to communicate early and often when a page is being created. So remember, simple is good, short can be good, but don't let a desire to have the shortest possible word count be the enemy of clarity.